Okay, so today is January 15th. I've had this bike for almost exactly a year. It was delivered to me on January 14th of last year. So I've had it a year and a day. And after riding it for a year, what did I end up with for miles? I ended up with 1,271 miles for the first year of use. And it's had no problems, none at all. It's been an excellent bike. I really enjoy it. I have so much fun riding this thing. But there is some things, you know, when you get a bike, obviously I added a lot of accessories onto it to make it mine. And this is what I think a lot of people do when they get a bike. They accessorize them to make them theirs. Now, there's only a couple things that I don't like about this bike still that I'm going to change. And let me see if I can move this camera over and give you a little better view here. Actually, I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so I just set the camera up a little bit different here so you get a better view. One of the things that I'm going to work on now is this front fender. Hey man, it looks cool, you know. A lot of people like it. I actually installed this one backwards on purpose so that it had this little lip facing to the front because I thought it looked better. There's not a big difference in the length of the fender, front to rear. So what I don't like about it is if I turn it like this when you're riding, it offers no protection to the frame of the bike down here. In fact, the bottom of this is all full of mud and dirt and crud because the tire throws everything up onto it. So it needs a better fender. It needs a longer fender. And so I did some homework and I found, let's see if I can come up here, put the camera up high. What I found was this. This is an A-Service motocross fender. This is for a dirt bike. It's really stiff, so it won't need any kind of brackets at all. So in fact, I'm going to open this up. Ooh, got a sticker. Then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Now, again, I'm going to mount this backwards. On a dirt bike, they mount them like this. And they have them facing towards the front. This long portion facing towards the front. I'm going to do it the opposite. I'm going to mount it like this. So that, let's see, can you still see me here? Let's see if I can angle this down a little bit. I'm going to mount it like this. I want it to offer protection to the frame of the bike. Now, it has a pretty good area here where you can move it forward and backwards to get it set where you want it. Now, it's much bigger than the other fender. It's going to give me all the protection that I want on the bottom of the bike. Is it going to look the greatest? No, it's not. But I'm not really too super concerned about looking cool, being cool. I want it to where if I go through puddles or get caught in the rain or whatever the case may be, and that it protects the bike a little better. That's the ultimate goal. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the front fender off. And let me show you. I don't know if you remember when I assembled this, I showed how I took everything apart here. This headlight's going to have to come off just so that I can get, you know, this bracket here has got to come off just so that I can get to the screw to remove this fender. Now this screw goes all the way through front to back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to have to fab up some brackets for the other fender so that I can mount it the same way. It's already got a hole that's drilled and passes all the way through, and so I want to try to utilize that. So I'm going to shut the camera off for a little bit and take this headlight off and this front fender, and then I'll start seeing what I can come up with as far as fitting the new fender on. I'm going to bring you over here handheld. I got this front fender off now. Took the headlight off, got the front fender off, And I noticed something that I never saw when I was putting this together. And what you can see here, if I can get this camera to focus, I don't know, I'm kind of close. But there, see this gap right here? They've actually put a roll pin in here to reduce the size of the hole to take this little skinny bolt. So if you look at it from the back side, come over here, you can see that's a much bigger hole, which is a good thing, because I was thinking about, you know what, I might have to drill this out and put a bigger bolt in it to make allowances for the extra weight of the bigger fender. But now I'm not going to have to drill a hole in it. It's already got it drilled in there. I just got to get a drift and a hammer, a punch and a hammer, and drive it out of there, and that'll give me the exact same hole size that I was looking for. So, alright, so let's see if I can get an idea on what this fender is going to look like and what I got to do to get it mounted on here. Now, like I said, I'm mounting it on backwards. So it's a little tight. There we go. Kind of squeeze it in. And that's pretty cool. Okay, and when I make the bracket to hold it, I can adjust it up or down. Alright, so now I got to come up with some kind of material for a bracket to mount it. And not really sure what I'm going to go with there yet. Maybe if I get some angle iron and grind it and shape it to fit. I got to allow for the suspension to travel. So yeah, it's got to be tilted down quite a bit to make it work like that. But I'll come up with something. I'll fab up something. Alright, let me go over to the metal shop side and see what kind of brackets I can come up with. Okay, so here's my problem. If I come over here to my metal shop side of the shop, I have all kinds of round bar stock and square bar stock, and I've got all kinds of stock. I got some hex stock, I got aluminum, I've got square, but this is all really thick stuff. Okay, I got some smaller stuff down here, but no flat bar. I got some flat bar over here, but that's 1/4 inch thick. That's really way too thick. And that's stainless steel, so that would be a bugger to work with. And then over here, under my bench, again, I got more round bar stock and flat bar stock, but I don't have any, or should I say square stock, but I don't have any flat bar. So, I guess, off to Home Depot I go. Let's see what I can find. I might get a couple different things and see what I come up with. Now once I come back, of course I have everything I need to fabricate stuff up with. And drill press and all my grinders and whatever. So temporarily I'm at a standstill. So I'm gonna go see what I can find. Okay, so let's go handheld here. I got some angle iron. Excuse the bars and the cameras, the LED lights in my shop again. Anyway, I got some angle iron. I got some, what is this, 1.25 inch, and I got some 2 inch. There's the 1.25 inch. And if I come over here and I look at the space that's on here where some brackets can go, this is about 3.5 inches across. So what I did is I marked these off, and I'll just come over here where there's some better light. The camera doesn't like the LED lights, So I've been coming over here under the fluorescent lights. You can see where I marked the end of this, 3.5 inches. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Now, the small bar is going to be for the front, and the tall bar is going to be for the back. Because if you remember, I got to lower the back of this quite a bit. So I'm going to go out in the garage and get set up with my chop saw that I have in the garage and cut this angle iron off. I'll be back. Okay, so let's see what I can show you here. I'm out in my garage now. I got my metal cutting chop saw out here, and this is the way to cut this. Yeah, I could use a hacksaw or any other number of methods to do this, but check this out. It might be a little loud. Like butter. This is not a fiber disc. This is a metal blade. It's a carbide tip metal cutting blade, and I mean, this thing is the berries. It's very, very little sparks. Cuts clean as can be. I don't know if you can see that very well or not. It's nice to have toys to work with. So that was the little piece. Let's throw the big one on here, and I'll do the same thing with it. Alright, so what I do is I put it on here, just kind of line the blade up with where I want it, right about there. Tighten the vise down. Alright, that might be a hair on the big side, but that's okay. I can grind it down if I need to. And there you go. I mean, like butter. A couple of seconds and it's cut. I'd be there forever with a hacksaw. So if you do any kind of metalworking, which I do from time to time, it's nice to have tools like this. And the other thing is, let me get my camera out of here. My welder is underneath. So you can see the gas bottle in the back. I got a nice, Miller MIG welder, and I may be digging that out to do some welding on this. I may have to weld some metal on this for this bracket. We'll see. I'm just going to kind of wing it and make it up as we go along here. Okay, so when I'm in my wood shop, I have this little 4-inch Wilton vise that I have mounted to this piece of an I-beam, and I cut one leg of the I-beam off so that I can clamp it in my vise, so that when I'm in my wood shop, occasionally you need to cut metal, or whatever. Sometimes you just need a small machinist vise. So that's what I got here. So let's see if I can show you. I don't know how sharp this blade is, but it seems to be doing okay. Doesn't take long. If I hold on to the metal, it keeps it from vibrating and keeps it from squeaking. Alright, not too bad. So I'm going to pause the camera and cut the rest of this off. You don't need to bore you making me watch me make all these cuts. Okay, so there you have it. I got it cut out. Now the reason I did that, I don't know if I can show you on this or not. Let's see if I can do this. You see how there's a curvature on the fork bracket. So this would not sit flat. So by cutting this little tab, it's going to sit perfect. Okay, so that was the reason for doing that. So if I show you what it's going to look like from the front here, it's going to sit like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here to one of my grinders, and I'm going to round all these corners off. So let me show you what I got going out here. Alright, so this is my multi-router. Well, if I can get over here without hitting everything with the camera on the way. Alright, so this is called a multi-tool. I love this little grinder. It is the berries. It is so cool for doing any kind of metal work. Alright, this blade, or this belt, is kind of fine, so I'm going to change it. This is 100 grit. Let's see what we got here. There's a 180. What's this one? That's an 80. That might be a little coarse. Let's try the 180. Let's see what this one does. So it's just that easy to change the belt on this thing. Alright, get the tracking set. See if I can get you a better view of what I'm going to do here. Kind of hard to get the camera set up, and also so I can work. Let's see here. This might be okay. So this 180 grit is not too aggressive, so it's not going to want to just yank the thing out of my hand, but yet it's going to allow me to round off all these corners. I'm going to come in here and flatten this. You can see where I left a little bit of a hump here. I didn't, want to cut through all that with a hacksaw. It had been there forever. But on the multi-tool here, I can just grind that right down. Ooh, get a little warm. Need some gloves. Get a little aggressive with my grinding here and it gets a little warm. Then I want to grind this flat so that it sits flat on the bottom of that fork bracket. I can round over all these corners so that when I'm working on it or whatever, I don't bang a knuckle or the back of my hand or whatever on these corners, these sharp corners. I'm going to round all them off. This is nice because I can just knock all the burrs off of everything. And to the other side now. Actually, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so this is what we come up with. I got to drill some holes yet, but you can see it'll sit flat up against the bottom of this triple tree clamp here. It'll sit flat where the hole passes through. So this should give me a real sturdy front mount. So now what I got to do is I got to mark for the hole, but before I do that I got to drive that roll pin out of there. Alright, so I got the roll pin driven out. You can see that. That was a bugger to get out of there. It's pretty long. But now, let's see if I can turn this around. See if I can get in here. I don't know if you can see it. That's about a 1/4 inch hole. So 1/4 inch bolt, 1/4 inch diameter bolt is much better than this little skinny bolt that was in there. So that's a good thing. So now I know what size hole I got to work with. So now I'll mark this and drill the hole in it. Okay, so I made a Home Depot run again. I went to get some rivets. These are the rivets that I had, and these were not long enough. And you can see, I don't know if I can show you here, the difference in the length of these. So I found these ones at Home Depot. These are pretty cool because they got a real big head on them. And so the big head, the large head, I'm going to put to the back side on the fender. So what I did is I held the bracket up and I marked it and then I drilled it. And now, let's see if I can get this, there we go, get the rivet in there. It sticks up plenty high. The problem I was having with the other one was the rivet wasn't even going through the bracket. So now that's going to go through the bracket just fine. And I was going to put a washer on the back side of the other one because they had small heads, but now that I have this large head I don't need to do that. It's going to pull down against this bracket, which is steel, real good. It'll be real tight. So that pretty much is going to be it for the front bracket. Now I get to do the same thing for the back bracket. The back bracket's going to be a little bit trickier though because it has to be longer. What did I do with it? Oh, there it is. So anyway, yeah, this is going to be taller. And the reason being is I need to lower the back of this fender. It may go back here somewhere. I need to lower the back of the fender so that it looks right, so it sits level. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to mark this off, do the same thing, notch it out so that I end up with a little tab on here just like this. And of course, you know, this hole's down low and this hole's going to be drilled up high so that I can get this thing dropped down. Now if I have to, I can nut and bolt this thing and I can put spacers under here if I have to get it, you know, lower. But we're going to see how it goes. You know, worst case scenario, like I said, if I have to, I'm not going to be able to rivet this in the back. I'll just, you know, put some stainless steel nuts and bolts and I'll bolt it together on the back side. But the next step is I'm going to mark this off and I'm going to cut this out with a hacksaw just like I did this piece here, and then go over to the belt grinder and grind everything down. So once I get these brackets all made up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint them black. So it doesn't really matter what kind of steel it is, doesn't matter, because I'm going to paint them black, and then, you know, it should match everything well and you should not even see them on there. So that's my plan. So I'm going to mark this off, and I'll come back when I get a little more progress made.